All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mark.
And I'm Michael, and we're both body mind coaches.
And welcome to the ManCast. So,
Well,
today's episode, we were looking back on episode 2, and we felt like there was some things that we could have dug deeper on, and we realized, you know what? We're going to call this episode 2A. So, for those of you who've listened to episode 2, this is episode 2A. We're going to dig a little bit deeper on some of the ideas and discussions that we had during there. Also, a precursor is today we're looking at the idea of what it means to medicate and the different ways we do so in today's times. Now, there's so many things we're going to talk about. We're not going to just be talking about actual medicine to medicate. We're going to be looking at different things. We're not here to judge you for how you medicate, or if you feel like, oh, these guys are on some high and mighty thing. We're not here to do that. We're just here to bring that awareness. So keep that in mind as we dig deep into what it means to medicate and the different ways that we do so. So I know we were talking earlier from the first episode of people medicating through substances, whether it's through prescription drugs, the recreation drugs, whether it's marijuana or you want to go into the party scene with ecstasy, heroin, amphetamines,
hmm
the stuff that's going to send people down the wrong path, and it's not going to end up well for them. To
right,
even consuming content, whether it's TV shows, podcasts, movies, radio shows, to even attending sports events. So many people, especially guys, so many guys will medicate in their lives watching sports. I
yeah,
know for myself, growing up, listening to the radio, it's like, guys are, oh, this sporting event's going to be awesome. My life revolves around what time the game is on.
yeah, yep.
If you enjoy the
I
game, cool. But yeah, I
yeah,
want to get your input on that.
well, I just remember being very, and now thinking back on it, it probably was a form of escape for myself. But I remember I'd wake up at 8, 9, maybe that's early, probably in my 20s. But I would get up early and turn on College Game Day on Saturday, and I would watch all the games until the Pac-10 games ended at midnight or 1 o'clock, and then I'd watch Sports Center after that. And my life kind of did revolve around on Saturdays the college football, and then Sundays it was the NFL, fantasy football. If it's just another avenue to fantasy football. I played for years and years and years, and I think it was partially a distraction. I mean, I also enjoy the game. I coach. I loved playing. But yeah, it's funny because now that our kids are a little bit older, sometimes I get up and I go and I watch College Game Day in the morning before everybody's up on a Saturday or whatever. And I mean, there's still something to it. But yeah, I mean, I know people who their lives completely shut down on a Sunday because they're watching the game, and within that is another version of that medicating or that self-medication through the consumption of alcohol, right? Like people use it as an excuse to get together and drink and get shit-faced and have a good time. But I don't know, I think that if that's our connection, and I can already tell, I can hear myself, like, if that's the way we're connecting, then we're not really connecting, because when you consume like that, you're not yourself, right? Um, but yeah, that's the experience that I have, especially around sporting events, is booze and terrible food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because even
and
then, just
that's even at the events, it's just more expensive, a lot more.
yeah,
So
it's paying what, 10 bucks for a beer, and like
I,
$7 for a bottle of water, and
I went to an NBA game in January and I spent $12 on a Jameson and ginger ale that came out of a freaking machine. It wasn't even hand poured. So yeah,
yep, yeah, and even getting into the food side of it is, do those food choices that we make watching these sporting events, is that going to help us the next day? Because I mean, so many times you hear guys like, yeah, dude, I went to the game, I got wasted, got shit faced, and they wake up feeling like shit, feeling terrible the next day. Maybe 2 days later, as they get older, some guy's like, dude, I can't drink like I was when I was in my 20s, man. Like, it's taking forever. It's like, you could have made a better choice.
Right. And who needs a helmet full of nachos? Honestly, man. Like, that is like, I just, you gonna wear that after that? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, nachos to, even if it's like that dripping cheese with the chili on there, maybe some green peppers or whatever, just, mix and match. Some of it's slightly nutritious, I'll give it that. People are getting their calories, their carbohydrates.
There's some green onions on there, maybe some tomatoes.
But that's only what, like 5% of the nutrition intake people should be getting for their fruits and vegetables?
If that, yeah.
So
but yeah, I do think that there's a high level of that happens, and I get it, right? Like we have stressful lives. We have a lot on our plate, and we have high expectations for ourselves in certain areas of our lives and not in others. And I think that there's that imbalance is something that, like you said, we need to bring awareness to. It's not from a place of judgment, because I am just as guilty as the next person of participating in it, but I now have a different awareness around it. And so I want to help bring that awareness to other people. And so, yes, we do have these stressful, high expectations. We have, just, what's the word? We have a benchmark for what success looks like within this conventional structure. And it's stressful. And we, as a species or as human beings, it's a requirement that we have a place to release that. But I think that we have other options besides consumption and Medicate, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, that's one of the toughest but easiest question to ask is, what if there's a different option? Because so many people, growing up, let's say, their family and parents, they're watching football games, they're, watching baseball games, March Madness tournament when that comes on. That if that's all they know, that's all they know.
Yep.
Or, what's the line? You don't know what you don't know.
Yes. And it's so true. It's simple but true, It's comfortable. That is what we know. And I do think that the high degree of prescription antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication and the abuse of recreational drugs and even over-the-counter drugs or in prescription drugs, this, again, ties into that being unaware of the alternatives. And maybe it's not even that you're unaware, but you're not unaware of their existence, but you're not aware of their medicinal purpose. You think of outside as just outside, right? But outside is actually connection. And that's what really, at the end of the day, support and connection. Those are the two things that I keep coming back to as the driving force behind why and what people do. They want support and they want connection. And right now, what we have access to is support and connection through social behaviors that, at the end of the day, are not serving any of us.
Yeah, dang, you're dropping some knowledge today, Michael. That's dropping some knowledge, man. But yeah, that the support and connection. Let's just break it down. So, looking at people who not even watch the football games on TV, but those who go to the stadium. They're there, let's say they go a couple hours to tailgate, they're eating food, they're there to support their home team or their favorite team. They're there to hang out with their buddies. They're getting the food, they're getting some sort of connection. But I feel, in that tailgating phase, how often are people feeling open to have those deeper conversations about who they are, or what they're struggling through, or successes that they're having that they want to share with their friends? I don't feel that's the most optimal place. Obviously, not saying there's one thing better than the other, but the likelihood of people sharing, hey, I'm going through a challenge, that's probably not going to happen at the tailgate scene. It's definitely not going to happen in the stadium when the game's playing. Maybe during a commercial break when everybody's like, okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. Like, check my phone. So then they check on their phone. They're checking Instagram. They're checking Twitter. They're checking their Facebook page, whatever thing else is out there. Then, so many people, they'll be looking straight at their phone. They're connecting virtually, but they're totally absent-minded of the people to the left of them, to the right of them, somebody in front of them, somebody behind them, when they could just turn to the person side, hey, like, how's your day going? Like, are you enjoying the game? To, even if that's more on the superficial level of discussion and connection with somebody, I feel that beats a whole lot more than just staring at your phone.
Yeah. Well, I want to be clear, we're not advocating that people don't go to sporting events. I think it's that there should be more intention behind it. I'll give you a perfect example. We went to the Globetrotters. We took the kids with my sister-in-law and her boyfriend had tickets to the Globetrotters, and we went with them. And my heart just about exploded watching their faces, and that is the kind of connection and support. Like, when they were excited, they would turn and they would look at us, and they would be like, oh my God, look, did you see that? That's so great, And then we took them down on the court afterwards, and they got autographs from the players and got their pictures taken with them. And that connection is something that I know I won't forget. And I know that they won't forget it either. They still talk about it. And so if we can approach those types of social events from that kind of a standpoint versus, did I bring enough cash to buy enough booze and shit ass food to have a good time? And I don't know, man, it's a hard one because, not everybody has kids, right? Not everybody's in a relationship, but I think, to your point, we can still utilize those interactions to try to have a deeper connection to our fellow human beings.
Well,
and this is all new to me too. I spent the majority of my adult life doing exactly that. I'm not out here to preach and tell everyone that what they're doing is wrong, because I also have participated just as much as the next person in that dynamic, and I do know now that there's a different way to interact, and I think that's the point. Not that I'm better than anyone. It's the point is that I have a different experience.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I wanted to kind of add on to the thing about connection is, versus being on the phones or thinking if I have enough money for food, and then that, that semi-bad stadium food is, instead of
generous.
I'm being generous here. So some people have, some places have okay food, other places, yeah. But anyways, that's not our topic for today. But the idea of even just turning to the person next to you, having that connection, like, giving, after your team scores a touchdown or an awesome play, boom, high five. With connection, you got to start somewhere, even if it's as simple as giving a high five to the person next to a complete stranger. I know I've gone to games and, or when I've gone to Giants games when I lived up in the Bay Area, and Giants would hit a home run or like a great play. Just, he'd be stoked. I'd be high-fiving the people right next to me. And like, we were sharing that moment, that connection.
Yeah. And even if you don't know them.
Even if you don't know them, we're just.
You have a shared connection. You have a shared experience.
Exactly. And I don't know those people nowadays. Like, I know Rachel, hey man, remember that one game from 10 years ago where you shared a high five? I'm not saying you have to go to that level just off one interaction, but it could be to where you never know who you're going to talk to that's going to turn into a great friendship, a great interaction where both sides are benefiting from it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you have to be willing to step outside. No, let me back it up. It would be beneficial for you, not you have to be, but it would be beneficial for all of us to step outside of our zone of comfort and see what happens. So like high-fiving that guy next to you might lead to a conversation then, which then in turn might lead to a new friendship. Who knows? So I love that. I think we are so trained to stay quote in our own lane, right? We don't want to ruffle feathers. We don't want to try anything new. We want to do what's comfortable, and being in this self-contained unit is what is comfortable because it keeps you safe. That's a perception, not reality, right?
Yeah.
Not reality, but it's a perception that you remain safe if you stay in your bubble or you do what you've always done. And did you read that book, The Illusion of Money, or have you seen the talk that Kyle Cease has given? Everybody's been talking about it in the forums on the Facebook group. But
I've heard people discuss it. I haven't got a chance to look through it. What input have you gathered from it?
Well, the big takeaway, not the only one, but the big one that keeps coming back and is, I think, applicable in a lot of different scenarios is the fact that we are afraid of losing what we already have, something that we already have, but we don't know what's coming. So change is that thing where like you don't want to change, you don't want to do anything differently because you don't want to lose what you already have, even in some cases, even if it's not working. But opening yourself up to the possibility of unrealized or unrecognizable experiences and interactions coming your way by taking a chance. So the risk of losing something that you already have, I think that's the thing. People don't want to change a lot of times because they're afraid of what will happen. Does that make sense? Did I take I think I might have taken the scenic route on that, but you know what I'm getting at, right? Like
yeah.
That was one of the big takeaways from that book. And from that, he was interviewed on a podcast with Lewis Howe, the School of Greatness. So I'll send a link to it. It's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely be interested in listening to it, and we can add it to other links as we put this video in the podcast up too.
We got resources.
Exactly. But also, one thing I was thinking about as you're talking about stepping outside the comfort zone, taking risk, is I think it's because of people don't want to be pushed out of their comfort zone. They don't want to take risks because they know there is the duality of, on one side, they could get hurt, they could get burned with a friendship or relationship, and those feelings suck. And I think part of the reason people will do these self-medicate things, whether it's consuming content, substance abuse, recreational drugs, being in the wrong relationships with the people who actually aren't a good fit for them, whether it's friendships, dating, significant others, marriages, is because of those things you were just unpacking about not getting outside their comfort zone, not taking the risks. Because taking the risk is risky. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's nothing easy or guaranteed about it. That's why it's a risk. But the other side, you said, if you play the game of what if I did take that risk, you open yourself to those possibilities of, it may not work out the way I planned, but also the opportunity to gain so much more.
Yes, 100%. And it's hard. It is hard. I will fully admit that. But the results are amazing. And I want to circle back to this content consumption thing as a form of medicating before we get too far away from that. So we are right now in this very time, content streaming has made it so easy to just get lost, right? All of a sudden you look up and it's 12 days later and you've finished 4 seasons of Game of Thrones or whatever the thing is that you're into right now. and yeah, that's, it's great cinema, the work, the special effects, the acting, the concept, the plot, the screenplay, all, it's beautiful, right? Like, it is eye-catching, and it's by design, right? And I fully admit to having my vices when it comes to streaming content. Like, I could burn through a season of, Daredevil or Luke Cage or something like that in no time, right? What I have started to do lately is I've been listening to affirmations at night. So talking about consuming, rather than consuming just entertainment content, like I've been incorporating and not just sprinkling it in every night. I'm on it before I go to bed. I listen to these I am affirmations that, because it matters. Like, even if you're not actively participating, it's a passive thing. You are taking that in, especially as you're drifting off to sleep. And someone that I talked with about this on Monday made a really poignant observation that in order to sleep, you have to feel safe, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you are at your least resistant on your way out, right? When you're on your way to sleep, because you feel safe, you feel comfortable, you feel protected and connected and all of those things. And then you're so much more receptive to hearing those things. They stick when you are at rest. And it's made a huge difference in my self-confidence, in the way that I present myself, the way that I interact with other people. And so I wanted to make sure to get that point in before we got too far out of here. Like, what you tell yourself matters. And if you're not telling yourself anything, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And this is, I don't know, some people might think of it as extreme or hokey or whatever, but it works, man. I've been doing it for 3 weeks. Every night, I am this, and I am. just say it, I am. So I know we had talked about content consumption, and I thought that this might tie nicely into that.
Yeah, because in terms of content, there is so many things, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, an interview, the affirmations. I know on Spotify, I've come across some stuff where Ray Lewis is recording some like affirmations. There's one track where it's, 5 or 6 things where just he keeps saying it over and over again. And mm-hmm. I've noticed myself that there is power to it. There's change I'm in my life where it's like, yeah, I'm listening to it and like, boom, it's, because there's so many thoughts that go through our minds each day. What if you had thoughts that brought you happiness, that made you want to look for different ways to get a different viewpoint, because you, like you were saying earlier with the sleep thing, because you felt safe, because you felt secure in who you are, you felt more open and willing to expand.
Yes. Yeah. There's a ton of it out there. You just have to look for it. Like, it's those affirmations. And then there's also these inspirational compilations where they're taking pieces of different speeches and talks that people have given. And he is on one of them. I don't remember which one it is, but where he's talking about the experience of changing himself after getting arrested after the Super Bowl, and like, there's a lot. Dwayne Johnson has a lot of good stuff out there from motivational content. Actually, one of the first ones that I came across was a copy of, I think it was a commencement speech at, I want to say Howard or Fordham, one of the two, that Denzel Washington gave. And it was like, man, it was so inspirational. I was listening to it at like 6:45 in the morning as I was getting ready to come home after work, at 6:45 a.m. But I was like, oh my God, I got to share this with people. Like, this is great. I sent it to my wife. I sent it to a couple clients. I'm like, just listen to it. That's all I'm asking. You don't have to do anything other than listen to it. And it makes you want to do more, right? It's so interesting how he's not even talking to me, right?
Mm-hmm. You weren't even at the location.
No, but it was inspiring, and that is how we're wired. and think about what messages we get on a regular basis that tell us that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not handsome enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not fast enough, our bodies are horrible. I mean, on a daily basis, we're bombarded by this stuff. No wonder we have to medicate, right?
Yep.
However, if you can tell yourself, and you have to be the one, you can't rely on anybody else to give you validation. You have to do it yourself. And that's the first step, is validating and approving of yourself. And then reinforce that with these other measures, these other content sources, however you want to, whatever is your thing. For me, it's, I'm a very visual and audible person. So for me to hear it is really helpful. For me to see it is really helpful. Not everybody's wired that way, but find out how you're wired, and then find a content outlet or a content source to reinforce that, because you're worth it, right?
Exactly. And especially that you just mentioned about, not everybody's wired differently. I think there's, another thing that, both you and I are passionate about is being outdoors, being in nature. That's another great way just to get away from all those bombardments of, hey, you're not this, you're not that, you're not good enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not, whatever you want to throw out there. Being out in nature without, access to your phone. I mean, if you listen to your phone or, for emergencies, I get it. But if you're not on your phone, you're actually taking in nature, you're actually interacting with it, whether it's hiking, running, sitting on a bench, just taking in, a tree in the park, that you're going to get a lot more benefit and ease of mind than if you were staying at home watching videos of, TV shows to sporting games. I think there's like the scientific research studies say, hey, if you're feeling stressed out, go out in nature, just chill out and enjoy what's actually out there. And the best part, it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things that Heidi and I have tried to incorporate more frequently. We have the luxury to be able to spend time together during the day. And so we've been trying to get on a walk at least once a day together, and it never fails. We take the same route a couple times a week, and we always stop at the same place so she can listen to this stream that runs under the road. It's loud, but it's beautiful. And I will be honest, if she hadn't made me stop and listen, I would have missed it, right? But now I know it's there. So it's just kind of like, again, bringing awareness to something that you might not have known about or might not know existed. Sometimes that's all it takes.
And I think that's, kind of tying it all together. That's what this episode is about, is just bringing that awareness to people. Hey, you don't always have to medicate with just sports, with substances, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, recreation drugs, radio shows, or whatever your choice is yes, if you enjoy those things and you find happiness with it, cool, awesome. But also have a diverse array of what you're taking in.
Yes. The more tools in your toolbox, the better. Yeah.
So, yeah. I think we covered it, man. Is there anything you want to add before we close this thing out?
No, I just hope that, there's value in this. I know there's value in this. What I guess I mean to say is I hope that other people find it, right? I hope other people find a message that resonates with them in some point in this conversation. So I appreciate you, Mark.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, Michael. Definitely. Likewise, I hope, people got value from this conversation. I know I got value. Just some things you mentioned, I'm going to have to go back and re-listen. Like, wait a second, there's some deep stuff there. So thank you for being you and being open.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So, all right. So, yeah, we're going to close out episode 2A. But always just want to mention Michael's out in River Falls, Wisconsin, border of Wisconsin, Minnesota. I'm out here in San Diego. If you're in those areas and would love to connect with us, we'll have our contact information. We do have an email now. It's the ManCast@gmail.com. And
Yeah, baby.
if you want to connect with us, we'll have the link in our descriptions. Also, we're going to try to find a way to put in links to some of those things we're talking about for content, whether it's the affirmations or podcasts. So we want to share with you guys some things that we're getting inspiration from that help us, because we want to see you guys and gals who are listening. We want to see you do better as well.
Well said. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Take care.